Some of these cruise ports are so frustrating that thousands of repeat cruisers, people with 20, 30, 40 sailings behind them, would rather stay on the ship than walk down that gangway again. Ask any veteran cruiser which stops they skip entirely, and you will notice something. They do not hesitate. They have a list, and it is not the list a first-time cruiser would expect. It has nothing to do with the destination being ugly or boring. It has everything to do with what happens the moment your feet hit the dock. Today, we are going through those ports, why experienced travelers avoid them, and then, because a warning without a solution is only half a video, the handful of ports that are worth every minute you spend off that ship. Let's start with the port that surprises people the most, because on paper, it sounds like paradise. Nassau welcomes more cruise passengers than almost any other port in the Caribbean, and yet ask around in cruise forums full of people who have been doing this for decades, and Nassau comes up again and again as a stop they would rather skip. The reason isn't a mystery, it's math. On a busy day, several large ships dock at once, funneling tens of thousands of people onto the same few blocks of Bay Street at the same time. That density brings out aggressive selling, vendors calling out from every direction, people trying to hand you something before you've decided you want it. Even the famous straw market, charming in the brochure, is largely stocked with imported goods rather than anything made locally at prices that don't reflect that. None of this makes Nassau dangerous. It just makes it exhausting. The smarter move, and this is something repeat cruisers will tell you directly, is to either book a specific excursion in advance so you have somewhere to be, or treat Nassau as a sea day and let the pool deck be your view of the island. Now to a port that has earned its reputation the hard way, Falmouth, Jamaica. Falmouth is a planned cruise port built specifically to bring ships to this side of the island, and inside the gates it is genuinely clean, organized, and calm. That part is true and worth saying clearly. But step past that gate and the character of the experience changes fast. Jamaica has long carried a reputation, documented by both travel guides and government safety resources, for aggressive street selling right at the port's edge, persistent vendors who don't take a polite no for an answer, and, more seriously, a pattern of tourists being offered marijuana by people working with local contacts, sometimes followed by an unofficial fine demanded on the spot. It is a well-known enough scheme that Jamaican tourist police, easy to spot in their white shirts and black pants, patrol specifically to intervene in it. Petty theft and overcharging by unlicensed taxis are also common enough complaints that most port guides now specifically recommend using only licensed red-plated taxis and agreeing on a fare before you get in. None of this means Falmouth has to be avoided completely. It means it rewards planning. Travelers who book a vetted excursion in advance to Dunn's River Falls or one of the river tubing trips the area is known for tend to have a great day. Travelers who wander without a plan are the ones who end up as the cautionary story in someone else's cruise vlog. Before we move on, there's a port where the caution comes straight from the layout itself, not from any single bad story. Belize City, Belize. Ships can't dock here directly at all. The water along the coast is too shallow, so every passenger boards a tender boat for a ride of roughly 20 to 25 minutes, sometimes choppy, out to the Fort Street tourism village. That village is a real physical gated compound, a high fence with security keeping the shopping and restaurant area separate from the rest of Belize City. Multiple port guides describe this setup plainly. The enclosed area is considered safe, and most cruise lines and travel writers recommend booking an organized excursion rather than wandering into the surrounding city independently, since Belize City does carry a higher crime rate than many other Caribbean stops. None of that means Belize itself is a write-off. Quite the opposite. This is the gateway to the Great Blue Hole and one of the longest barrier reefs in the world. Genuinely spectacular diving and snorkeling territory. The catch is that almost none of it is walkable from the port. The real Belize, the reefs, the cave systems, the wildlife sanctuaries, requires a booked tour to reach. Show up with no plan and you'll spend your day in a pleasant but small shopping village. Show up with a snorkeling or cave tubing excursion booked, and Belize becomes one of the best days of the whole cruise. Next is a port that experienced cruisers avoid for a completely different reason. Not danger, distance. Progreso on Mexico's Yucatan coast is home to something genuinely unique, one of the longest cruise piers in the world, Guinness certified, stretching roughly 4 miles out into the Gulf of Mexico. It exists because the water along this stretch of coastline is so shallow that that ships have to dock miles from shore just to find enough depth. Walking the pier isn't an option. It's closed to foot traffic, so every single passenger boards a free shuttle bus for a ride of 15 to 20 minutes each way just to reach dry land, and the same trip again to get back. For most travelers, that's a mild inconvenience. For anyone managing mobility issues, heat sensitivity, or a tight schedule, it eats a meaningful chunk of an already short port day before you've done anything at all. Progreso itself is not a resort town built for tourists. It's a real working Mexican fishing port, which some travelers love for exactly that reason, and others find underwhelming if they were expecting postcard beaches right off the ship. The honest takeaway: Progreso rewards people who pre-book a tour to the Mayan ruins at Chichen Itza or Uxmal, because that's the actual reason to visit this port. Without a plan, it's a long shuttle ride to a modest beach town and back. Now, a port where the biggest enemy isn't a person at all. It's the ocean itself. Costa Maya, also on Mexico's Yucatan coast, sits inside a purpose-built resort compound, complete with its own pool right at the port. That alone tells you something. There isn't much of an organic town surrounding it, which is part of why locals half-jokingly call it Costa Maybe, a nod to how often rough seas force ships to skip the stop entirely and stay out at sea for the day. But the bigger, more consistent problem here since around 2018 has been sargassum, a thick brown seaweed that has been washing up in massive quantities across the Yucatan and much of the Caribbean. In peak season, it can pile up along the shoreline thick enough to make swimming unpleasant or impossible, and no amount of cleanup crew effort fully keeps up with it. Your whole reason for stopping in Costa Maya is that clear turquoise water from the photos. It's worth checking recent traveler reports before you go, because the reality on any given week can look very different from the brochure. There's also a port that confuses people simply because of what it isn't: Freeport, Grand Bahama. When people picture the Bahamas, they picture Nassau's turquoise water right off the pier. What they actually get in Freeport is a working industrial harbor, cargo cranes, shipping containers, and a cruise terminal tucked inside a functioning cargo port. There is genuinely no beach, and often no real tourist activity within walking distance of the ship. The nearest beach, Xanadu, is roughly 6 to 10 miles away, and the main shopping and dining hub, Port Lucaya Marketplace, is a similar distance in the other direction, meaning a taxi or shuttle is essentially mandatory the moment you want to do anything at all. None of this is a safety concern. Freeport is not flagged for the kind of crime issues some other ports carry. It's purely a logistics and expectations problem. Travelers who show up assuming they'll stroll onto sand within 5 minutes are the ones who leave disappointed. Travelers who pre-book a beach shuttle or a car rental in advance, since taxi availability at the pier can be limited, tend to have a genuinely relaxing day at Xanadu or Lucaya Beach. It's less a port to avoid and more a port that punishes anyone who didn't read the fine print first. This might be the safest port on today's list, and thousands of experienced cruisers still choose to stay on board. If Grand Cayman. Here's the twist. The Cayman Islands are about as safe and clean as anywhere in the Caribbean, and that's exactly reflected in the prices. The Cayman dollar trades above the US dollar, and restaurants, shops, and water sports along 7 Mile Beach charge accordingly. The real complaint from experienced cruisers isn't crime, it's logistics. Grand Cayman has no deep water cruise pier, so every passenger has to take a tender boat from ship to shore, and on a day when several ships are anchored at once, which happens often in peak season, that tender line can mean standing in direct Caribbean sun for well over an hour, both getting off the ship and getting back on. For older travelers or anyone with heart or heat sensitivity, that's not a small thing to plan around. What makes people keep coming back anyway is Stingray City, a shallow sandbar where you can wade and swim alongside wild southern stingrays. Genuinely one of the most memorable stops in the entire Caribbean. The advice from people who've done it more than once: book your excursion for as early a departure time as the ship allows, so you're on one of the first tenders out and not standing in that line shine at peak heat. One more before we get to the good news. Cozumel, Mexico. Cozumel is, by raw numbers, the busiest cruise port in all of Mexico, with millions of passengers a year spread across 3 separate piers. That volume is exactly what divides opinion on this island. The waterfront town of San Miguel, right where most ships dock, has largely turned into a stretch of jewelry stores, pharmacies, and souvenir shops built around the cruise schedule rather than around local life. And depending on which pier your ship uses, you may face a longer walk through a commercial complex just to reach a public street. None of this makes Cozumel unsafe. The island's economy runs almost entirely on cruise tourism, so it is well policed and generally low on the kind of crime concerns you'd weigh in Jamaica or Belize. The real letdown for a lot of travelers is authenticity. It takes real effort to find something that feels distinctly Mexican rather than built for a 4-hour visit. What consistently redeems this port is what's underwater. Palancar Reef, wrapping around the island's southwest side, is regarded as one of the finest snorkel and dive sites in the entire Caribbean. Clear water, dramatic coral walls, and marine life that rivals destinations twice as far from the U.S. coast. If diving or snorkeling isn't on your agenda, Cozumel can feel like one long shopping strip. If it is, this is one of the best reef days you'll find on any itinerary. So that's the warning list. Now let's talk about where the ship time is actually worth it, because not every port deserves the same reputation. San Juan, Puerto Rico, is close to a perfect port day for anyone who doesn't want logistics to eat their afternoon. Ships dock directly on the waterfront of Old San Juan, a preserved Spanish colonial neighborhood of cobblestone streets and pastel buildings. So there's no tender, no shuttle, no taxi required. Within a 5-minute walk, you can be inside Castillo San Felipe del Morro, a centuries-old fortress maintained by the U.S. National Park Service, with a combined ticket covering both major forts for around $10. And because Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, American travelers don't deal with currency exchange, foreign phone charges, or customs declarations, which genuinely matters for anyone managing medication schedules or medical needs on a tight port day. St. Martin, split between its Dutch and French sides, offers something almost no other Caribbean port can: 2 distinct cultures a short taxi ride apart. The Dutch side, where ships dock, is calm and well organized, with posted taxi rates so there's no haggling. The one real rule experienced cruisers repeat constantly: leave the French side with plenty of buffer time, because the single road connecting the 2 sides can back up badly in the late afternoon, and missing your ship over a lunch that ran long is a mistake people actually make. Moon Cay, a private island in the Bahamas run by Carnival Corporation, works on a different principle entirely. There's no town outside the gate because there's no gate. The whole island is managed by the cruise line, so the pressure that defines so many other Caribbean stops, vendors calling out, taxi drivers competing for your attention, simply isn't part of the experience. A beach barbecue is typically included in the cost of your cruise, and the water is the kind of clear blue that photographs almost don't do justice to. The honest tip from people who've been more than once: most passengers cluster near the entrance, so the far end of the beach tends to be far quieter if you're willing to walk a little further. Bonaire, a small Dutch island that most travelers have never heard of before their itinerary includes it, is the port repeat cruisers talk about like a secret. It has deliberately kept its visitor numbers low to protect its coral reef, and that reef starts astonishingly close to shore. In some spots, you can be snorkeling among sea turtles within a couple of minutes of leaving the pier. One rule matters here: reef-safe, mineral-based sunscreen is required by local regulation to protect the marine park, with real fines for violations, so check your bottle before you pack. And Bermuda, technically in the Atlantic rather than the Caribbean, runs on its own rhythm entirely. Ships typically stay 2 to 3 days instead of a few hours, docking at the Royal Naval Dockyard, with an inexpensive day pass covering the ferries and buses that connect the whole island. Crime is close to a non-issue here, and the extended stay means you're not racing a clock the way you are almost everywhere else on this list. Here's the honest thread running through through everything we just covered. Almost none of these avoid ports are avoid at all costs dangerous. Most of them are avoid without a plan. The travelers who get burned in Falmouth or frustrated in Progreso are almost always the ones who walked off the ship with no idea where they were going, the ones who have a booked excursion, a rough idea of costs, and realistic expectations tend to come back with good stories, even with the ports with rough reputations. So, before your next cruise, don't just cross ports off your list. Look up what a smart day there actually looks like, because the smartest cruisers don't avoid ports, they avoid bad decisions. And that 1 hour of planning is usually the entire difference between the story you tell your friends and the one you'd rather forget.